Previous Brides to find out about her wedding, how we created it, and ultimately how they found working with a planner and how they felt we enhanced their planning journey. Now, I do have to admit, it is Friday night. We do have a bit of a reputation. We do have a little bit of cheeky champagne. So, cheers everybody.
Cheers.
So let me introduce you to Alex.
Evening all.
So Alex and her husband James married last June, and it was a pretty epic weekend-long wedding. It was based around a music festival. And they hired us to plan the entire wedding and the music festival party the following day. And it all started with two things. And those two things were Alex's favourite colour, which is neon coral, which you may tell from her jumper. And her other favourite thing that she wanted for her wedding was a hot tub bus. And to be quite honest, when Alex mentioned this to us in our consultation when we first met with her, first of all, there is such a thing as a hot tub bus. And secondly, we were, to coin a phrase, let's jump on board. We've got to do this wedding because a hot tub bus at a wedding, it's just going to be totally epic and unlike anything we've done before. So rather than me waffling on about Alex's wedding, let me hand over to Alex and she's going to just chat to you a little bit about her wedding.
Thanks, Vanessa. Good evening, everyone. So James and I, our journey to the epic festival wedding was rather tortuous. It was not what we started with. We started trying to work out what we wanted and we weren't quite sure, but something we were absolutely certain was we didn't want to do it in the UK because the UK has terrible weather. And so we thought, well, where do we like? And there are two places that have meaning for us, and one is the south of France and one is Mallorca. So we started with Nice because my parents used to have a flat there and we both know it and love it very, very much. But we spent a weekend there, very cold, grey, flat lit weekend, herring round 8 venues in 2 days.
8 venues?
We found one.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's cramming it in.
And this is without any help. We just
this was just by yourselves?
Just by ourselves. That was interesting. There was one that was great. We came back and costed it, and it being France, and it was extremely expensive and also very difficult. You had to do things a very set way.
So you couldn't bring your own kind of personalities in and do things how you wanted?
No, it had to be done by their book.
Okay.
So that was consigned to the sort of dustbin, and we thought, right, where next? Mallorca. So we went 2 months later and had another grey, flat, cold weekend. Going
Is this because you were viewing them in the winter?
Yeah.
Okay.
So some of the venues were shut, which didn't help. This time we did it with the help of a wedding planner, an English wedding planner who's based in Palma, and she took us around for the 2 days. And that was a real eye-opener because where there were some very beautiful venues, what became clear was that, one, we definitely needed to use a wedding planner if we were going to do it abroad, and two, that you would have to do it a very set way. So you couldn't really put much of your own mark on it. So you could certainly choose the venue, but you were limited by the caterers, and it became very clear that you would have to do it kind of the way they pushed you.
And did that almost then make it feel like it was a bit of a clinical procedure?
Yeah, it suddenly all your choice is gone.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, started to make us think that this wasn't the right thing for us. So we came home and we spent 4 months not thinking about the wedding. So we're now probably thinking about July. And then James very kindly pointed out that the village that we live in is very, very fabulous and we love it very much. And lots of the things we love about it actually would be great as features of the wedding. So I acquiesced and said, yes, this is a very good idea. And so we started...
So this is James's?
This is...
James,
I have to give James credit. Because,
Thank you, James.
Thanks, James, because he was the one who suggested our own village. And it sort of started evolving from there. And I guess, again, it was all rather nebulous. We weren't quite sure. But we wanted it in a field and we wanted to have music because for James and I, what we love is we love festivals and we love raves and we love seeing our friends happy and just that general sort of mood. And so we kind of started looking, and then we started realising very quickly that if you're going to have a wedding in a field, you need lots of things, and probably lots of things that you don't know you need. And that's what led us to you, actually, or to thinking about a wedding plan, I should start with.
Because I think when I first met you, you had your teepees booked. Not nailed down as in we're going to have 5, we're going to have 4, we're going to have this. Just Hello TP Company, which was actually Cambridge Tent Company. Hi guys. But it was, we need TPs and it's on this date, please can you put it in your diary. There wasn't anything more in writing than that, yeah.
So I think what was really important to James and I was to use as much local suppliers as we could. So that was, from the TPs to obviously eventually the wedding planner. And so we based things very, very close to where we lived. And so I'd done a bit of research, but very quickly realised there was a lot going on. And weddings are very stressful, and it was getting very stressful, and there were probably some needless arguments. And actually, I think I was the one who said that perhaps we needed an expert to come in and save our sanity, I think.
And to piece it all together. Yeah. And when you suggested that to James, was he straight away, yes, let's do it, or was he sceptical? Or
he was very relieved, I think.
Was he?
Because, it saved the marriage before it even started. I think, he realised it was getting complicated, and what he wanted was someone who would be an expert in what we wanted to evolve and what we wanted for ourselves and for our guests.
Okay. I obviously know James, and I can just imagine and picture how he was getting very quietly stressed. And you're right.
I don't do quiet stress though.
You don't do quiet stress, you do loud stress. But there is so much, when you have an outdoor wedding, there is so much to think about. There's all the different suppliers you need to make it work. There's your power supply, your water supply, there's access, there's can you get all your vehicles in. So we've mentioned the hot tub bus. What Alex might not know, which you will do in a few minutes, is to get your hot tub bus into that field, we had to do several site surveys. We needed the exact measurements of the bus, the height, the width, the turning circle. We had to work out if that bus was going to be even able to go in the field. Yeah. We had to ask trees to be cut down, to be trimmed, and we also had to lift some power lines to get this hot tub bus in. So we're used to doing things like that. Doesn't faze us. In fact, it's kind of what we thrive on. But yeah, you may not have known that all that happened to get your hot tub bus in that field.
And I think that really underlines, how much you did for us and why we wanted to have a wedding planner. Because actually, even if it's not a very complicated outdoor event, a wedding, actually there's loads of stuff you don't know about. So for example, we needed a generator. Well, we kind of worked that out because we wanted the music and the lights, but we didn't know we needed a backup generator because we just didn't think about that. And so that's where a wedding planner, their expertise, particularly in what you've got locally, I think really bowled us over. And actually we were blown away by your knowledge, your experience, and all the things that you suggested, because we thought, having got lost in Pinterest for hours on end, and whimsical wonderland,
Pinterest wedding,
that's it, and rock my wedding, and all these different fabulous, dangerous websites, is that we I certainly felt like I kind of had a handle on what we needed, and some frivolous excess and stuff.
But the reality was, you had a handle on what we would call the fluffy, creative, pretty stuff, and then I came along and did the whole analytical. Where's your power coming from? Where's your water coming from?
And we just sort of went, well...
and there was much head scratching at that point. And that's, I think, when you probably were like, yeah, we definitely need some help.
When I first met you, I think what drew me to you was, as you said,
it was the
nails. So there was sort of an instant connection, but I think it was just sitting down and very briefly giving, you asked me, kind of talk me through your vision, and I think it was 2 or 3 sentences, which for me is pretty impressive, succinct, and you just totally got it.
Yeah.
And so it was very opposite to what we'd had in Mallorca, was that it was just, let's just get your wedding and evolve that dream. And what we ended up with, of course, was turning up on the day and being blown away, because it far, far exceeded the visions that we had and the expectations. But I think it was just, you completely understood our brief and then took it to the next level and took it to a level that we didn't even know existed. And I think that's what comes from a wedding planner.
Oh.
And so that sort of goes from being an epic wedding to, I think, a stratospheric wedding, in my opinion. So.
Stratospheric. I will take that. I'll take stratospheric. I have to admit, at the end of the night, at the end of the actual wedding day, our team, we did walk up to the end of the field, and we were looking down on the teepees, and they were all uplit, and it was just a really pretty sight. We had gas flambeau at the end. It just looked amazing. All the guests were completely enjoying themselves, and we just stood there at the back of the field, and I don't even know if you know this, And I actually cried. I literally, I stood there and I was like, my God, this is just what we've created is something amazing. Because all your guests throughout the day, your family, your friends, they all just kept coming up, these random guests just kept coming up, hugging us. And they were like, oh my, if Carlsberg did weddings, this is it. This is like the best thing ever. And for us as a planner, that's what we want. We want you and your guests to just have like the most amazing experience. So that's cool, stratospheric. I don't know if we're ever going to top it.
I think you're right actually. And what we got, I don't know if it's unusual or not because we've only got married once. That should be hopefully at James. But we got loads of thank you cards from our guests. So just saying, wow, it was what an incredible thing that you put on for us. And I think what was important for James and I was that it was a real expression of who we are and what we love. Because I think I've certainly been to weddings where perhaps I felt that it's been done for somebody else and it's not quite a representation, but what James and I wanted was people to turn up and go, oh, this is so James and Alex, and you helped us create that, our signature.
And that's what all your guests were saying to us. They were like, I couldn't imagine James and Alex doing a wedding anything other than this. So how anybody would ever imagine a hot tub bus existed, I don't know, but it was just the most amazing thing to be in the middle of a wedding drinks reception and to be topping up people's guest champagne and they're in their swimmies and towels slung around their neck, and it was just a really relaxed, chilled vibe. So it was really cool. You'd had experience with your planner in Mallorca about them maybe taking over or taking control and you not being able to have free reign, but with us, you felt that...
It was really exhilarating actually, I think, because there is that fear, you don't think about a wedding planner until you get married. Then you may be scared to use one because you're not quite sure whose agenda it's going to be. And I think I can understand that, but actually with you, the key thing is you listened, and so I sort of vomited out what the vision was with neon pink. But I think it was just you listened, and then what you then spoke about afterwards, which was not what I told you, but what you then you already was starting to take it to the next level.
Was that with other creative ideas
the flamingos?
Every wedding needs flamingos, yeah?
Yeah, so then you'd suggested them, and I then said, I wanted those 1950s Palm Springs type flamingos, but you'd already said it, and I just thought, wow, you've really listened to me, you understand what we want, and then you're offering your expertise. And I think that was just, what happened was I basically went from that meeting with you back to James and said, she had hot pink nails, she totally got us, and James said, right, we're having her.
Fantastic.
So that was fabulous. Thanks, James. Yeah.
Oh gosh. So you obviously experienced us in action during the initial planning and the build up. So we took 10 months, I think it was. 10 months to plan the wedding, which was quite a lot to do in the 10 months, but we got everybody on board. And the thing that was so great is that we could use suppliers that we know and we work with quite a lot. And everybody on the day, all the suppliers, they came together as a team. And it wasn't us as a wedding planner and them as individual suppliers. It was all of us working as a team to give you guys and your guests this most amazing day. And I don't know if that came across to all the guests, but we were all, so knitted together in what we were doing.
Yeah. I think it did, and I think that's another, big plus of having a wedding planner, is that you have got those relationships you've built with suppliers. So I may say, well, look, I've found this caterer, they look great on paper, and you will be able to say, well, actually, I've worked them a few times, you know what, it's not as great as you think it is, or whatever. And so having your expertise was, I think, invaluable. You knew some of the people I'd already spoken to, so that was great. I think that made me feel relieved.
Yeah.
But then you brought people in that you knew would be absolutely right. And I think you can Google as much as you want, you can look on Whimsical Weddings and Rock My Wedding, but actually, it's you.
There's nothing that beats first-hand experience.
You're on the shop floor with these people, and
absolutely,
that's key. So I think that's one of the most valuable things about having a wedding planner, is their expertise and experience and relationships with people who are going to make your day incredible.
And we actually use, for the catering, we use Provenance Kitchen, who are great guys. They cook everything over fire, and they have a great big Silver Bullet Airstream. And so many of your guests came up to us and they were like, I don't understand where the feed's coming from. Where is the food coming from? And we were like, oh, it's coming from the Airstream. And they were like,
yeah,
all our food is coming from there. And it was everybody was so complimentary about the food. And it just suited the relaxed vibe so well. So does the reality of having a planner compare with initial expectations? I suppose I've already made it clear, but I think far exceeded what we
expected. I mean, I don't know quite. I think I expected things to work out, and that we wouldn't know about the stuff that didn't. But I didn't. I think two things. One, I didn't think it was going to be, as I said, just elevated to such an incredible, polished, for James and I, a real representation of us, but also classy as well as being in the middle of a campsite in a village. It was perfect. And I think the other thing is, for both James and I, we didn't realise that we'd come out of our wedding with two really good friends. It's you and your husband Dom, and I think that again is testament to the effort you put into building a relationship with your client, because that we have to trust you.
Yeah,
there's a lot of money in weddings, and some of it's not.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dad. And thanks, Chris and Margaret. Is not it's not our own. And actually, I think having trust in you is I think it was key. So that building of a relationship then meant that we actually were very happy to delegate. And I think sometimes it can be very hard to delegate at weddings, particularly if you are lost in the Pinterest bubble.
Yeah.
Is that it's very difficult to go, I'm just going to give the reins to you. But I felt we both of us were just like, yeah, Vanessa, please. Because we just felt so confident in your abilities and your experience. I think that was brilliant.
Yeah, and that's what we try and do. Like, we're here to take the stress away from you so that you can enjoy... you can enjoy being with your friends. You've got the run up where you're focused. Yes, you're focused on the wedding, but also you're not completely stressed. Going, oh my god, I've got to fold 120 napkins. I've got to lay 120 place setting. I've got glass. I've got this delivery. I've got that delivery. We were literally on site, as we are for all our weddings. We were on site the moment the first supplier came on board, which was the teepee company. So they were first on site to build the teepees. And then we had power come in, which for our weddings, because our clients tend to spend quite a lot of money on their weddings, if you lose power and you're in the middle of a field, that's it. That's your wedding gone.
Yeah.
You've got, you've got engineers you can call out, but they could be at the other end of the country. So we always use big show silent generators. They come on the back of a lorry, they're high-abbed in, craned off the back of the lorry. We have a backup generator and it's an automatic switch. We have big bundled fuel tanks. This is all like really boring, but it's actually the mechanics that makes
about this stuff.
that makes the wedding work. And part of our job as well is, because the campsite, we hired the campsite in your village for a week and a half really to get the build done for the wedding and then to get everything stripped out. And we had to look at the weather forecast, and if it was wet, which actually it was after the wedding, so the wedding day was quite nice weather. The day after for the music festival was amazing. It was the hottest day of the year, the clearest bright blue skies ever. After that, all hell broke loose, torrential rain, and we actually had generators on site for a week and a half because it was too wet to get the lorries in. But we had a plan for that, and everybody, the site owner, the landowner, the generator company, everybody was on board with it. So, we had that plan to fall back onto. And then we bought the hot tub bus was the next thing, which was the most... exciting and nail-biting thing I think I've ever experienced in my life as to whether it would actually, if our calculations were right and if it would fit through that very narrow gateway and past the power cables. And then it was all the pretty things, so all the glassware and the crockery, etc., that came in. It was that was when I felt you were at your most stressful.
Yes.
because we were quite calm and we knew exactly what we had to do, but you had a lot of family and guests arriving that hadn't seen you, and everybody wanted your attention.
That's right.
But you were conscious that you didn't really want to leave us to do everything, and
that was really hard. Actually, I didn't think that would be hard. I thought it was sort of relinquishing that final bit of control. But I think you brought up a really good point, which about which wedding plan, the advantage of having a wedding planner is they will have a plan B and a plan C. If you do this yourself, good luck to you being able to have enough time and mental bandwidth to be able to create a plan B and a plan C. And I think that is hugely important. And I think, I hope, speaking for James as well, is that there's a number of certainly my own friends who said they actually didn't really enjoy their own wedding, which made me feel really sad because we had the time of our lives. I mean, it literally is the best festival we'll ever be to go to. And it is, we both just had the greatest time, both days, all day, every day. We weren't worried at all. And I think, having spoken to people were quite surprised how you actually enjoyed your wedding day. And I just said I was blissful. It's incredible. And I think that's because we had you, at the helm, running the show, and we could just get on with. James said, what he loved about Saturday was he just felt one of the guests.
Oh,
You know, and it just
the day after
yeah,
to the
it was
music
great.
festival.
I was just one of the guests, and, you know, because we didn't need to think about anything, and that was really key for him.
Yeah, no, we literally took over everything. So we ran all the timings as we do on the day, and we had all the suppliers arriving. And I remember one of Alex's things was we had a surprise for her dad. Her dad had many surprises because he envisaged his daughter having the country house Rolls Royce wedding, and he landed up with a hot tub bus, 4 teepees, and going to church in a tuk-tuk. And Alex was adamant that Dr. Davidson was not going to be made aware of his transport to the church, so it came down to me on the wedding morning to stand there whilst Alex had just come downstairs and shown herself to her dad, and it was all happiness and tears of joy. And then I was stood there thinking, I'm now going to break this moment because I've got to ask him to get into the back of a tuk-tuk. But hand on heart, your dad was amazing, and he just saw that it was your personalities, and he just went with it. And it's just little things like that we met with your mum and dad as well.
Yeah, that's key. I think you know, that the other thing, certainly when I was mentioning, you know, where some of the budgets coming from, because we wanted to keep a lot of the elements a surprise, was that I felt that it would be great for my mum and dad to meet with Vanessa, and but not to tell them anything, which sounds ridiculous. But
it was really difficult.
It was very hard for you, and I think we were sort of slightly on the defensive. But actually, you know, my parents got a chance to sort of talk freely with Vanessa. We tried to sort of keep quiet, and she was incredibly professional. Didn't give away the secrets, which was key.
It was so hard. So many times in that meeting in your kitchen, I was nearly like, oh, and we have a hot tub bus. We have a tuk-tuk. It was like, oh. Yes.
They had no idea what they were turning up to, my parents, bless them. But I think, and there was anxiety, which I understand around that. But actually, meeting Vanessa, she was able to put them at ease, give them a huge amount of confidence that actually they still had no idea what they were turning up to, but they knew that she knew what they were turning up to. And I think it was her professionalism which really. My parents were just, you know, they went away, and as you said, you know, before we started recording, they left not knowing anything. But I said, oh, they're really chilled now. They're so happy.
But we hadn't told them anything.
But that's
all we told them there were some teepees in a field.
Yeah.
And that it was going to be amazing. And because I said it was going to be amazing, they took that in good faith. Bless them, having never met me before.
They did.
Yeah.
I think they saw the relationship you have with James and I. And the questions they asked, you know, you had your plan Bs and your plan Cs. You know, you were able to show them what the vision would be, what your experience is, and what would happen if things didn't go quite to plan. And for them, that's all they needed. So, you know, for me and James, were like, yeah.
So,
job done.
This was, as we keep saying, was a fairly epic wedding. So, how many guests did we have? 130?
It was 120 for the first day, and then I think coming and going on the second day, we probably worked out about 280.
Yeah. So a lot of people involved, and on the second day, it was mostly the village. So we had a sit-down meal. It was formal in the sense that we had starters, we had main, which the lovely guys at Provenance Kitchen cooked up with Storm for us. And then the dessert, we did something a little bit different because you wanted to involve.
I like puddings.
So Alex was basically said to me, "You will have to hold my hair back when I go in for the puddings." So we kind of worked on what we could do for that, because Alex was like, "I don't just want one pudding, I want loads of puddings." So you went for the guest list.
Yeah, I did.
Hand-picked people and got them to make a dessert pudding of their choice. And I have to say, even though I was planning this wedding and I was up to my ears in work,
this is the commitment.
I too had to bake a pudding, and I landed up doing a chocolate.
You did pavlova.
Yeah, raspberry chocolate pavlova.
Much lauded as well. Yeah,
and so we had 2 tables of desserts, which everybody just dived into. And I have to say, I'm not at all smug, but mine was the first dessert to go.
That's what James actually tasted.
So we actually don't know. I was at the back of the teepees doing a little snoopy dance, going, yes, mine's gone first.
Right.
But it involved the guests into another aspect of the wedding, and also the puddings that we had left over also made for good breakfast the following morning. Extraordinarily good breakfast the following morning. So then we didn't have a cake. There was no cake cutting because you didn't want any of that stuffiness. And we had a band in the evening.
We had the band from the village.
We had the band from the village, and they were amazing.
Yeah, they were incredible.
And we do have a famous musician in your village who was going to play for us.
He was going to play the organ in the church.
He was going to play the organ in the church. Are we allowed to say who he is?
Yeah.
So Don Airy was going to play organ in the church
he
for us.
He was touring on one of his last ever tours.
So yes, he was touring. And if anybody, the youngsters amongst us, doesn't know who Don Airy is, Don Airy used to be
in Deep Purple.
Deep Purple. So go Google that.
Very musical village, which is hence the music festival.
Yes, exactly. So, and then we had a DJ for the rest of the wedding night.
We did. We had my hairdresser.
Who is
the lovely Christian Brown.
Alex's hairdresser.
Yeah.
He was brilliant. He was an absolute star. And we gave you a little surprise during your first dance.
Oh, you did.
So Alex had mentioned that she desperately wanted confetti cannons, and James wasn't so keen.
And then I think we forgot.
And then it got wiped under the carpet and it was never mentioned again. So me being me,
thank you.
got some confetti cannons from Confetti Master. Like, don't buy high street ones. Go to the professionals. Buy them from Confetti Masters. And during the end of your first dance, we had worked with the band. They gave us a signal, and Christian, the DJ, myself, my co-director, we all had confetti cannons hidden behind our backs. We looked really stupid on the side of the dance floor, standing there like we were patrolling. And we gave you confetti cannons, which made for some absolutely totally epic shots. Yeah. And I must say, the photographers we used were Sansom Photography, Verity and Chris, and they were amazing.
Incredible.
Utterly amazing. So that was the wedding day, really, wasn't it?
It's the wedding day.
We had a glamping village. So we had a bell tent village in one half of the campsite, which came from Red Sky Tents, which was it was really cool.
That was wonderful, actually.
I have no idea how much sleep you guys got that night, but it's like it was
snoring going on. It wasn't me for once.
Those tents were fairly crammed into that site. But then the following day, it was, I think we had 3 hours sleep. And we had to turn all the TPs around for the following day's music festival, which kicked off at 9:30 in the morning with a coffee truck serving hot drinks and pastries. So good old rural coffee, they turned up. And then we, bathing under the sky, the hot tub bus was open.
I think that was one of James and I's favourite moments, actually, was...
Is it?
We got up and we got into the hot tub bus, and there was no one else in the hot tub bus. And so it was, as you said, an absolutely bright blue sky, and it was just looking out, and people were starting to get their chairs, because we wanted like a music festival, so we had people getting blankets and chairs. So people were just stirring and sort of staggering to the coffee truck. And James and I were in the hot tub, which is double-deckers, we were on the top, looking out. There was no one there, and we just thought, wow, this is just incredible. Actually, you know, high fives to you at that point, but actually just looking around thinking, this is brilliant. This is our wedding. And it was a real, like, you know?
Look what we've done.
Because you're, you know, in your day, you're so immersed that you often don't get a chance to stand back. And one of your good bits of advice was, go to the back of the field, just take a moment and just see what you've
and that moment on that Saturday morning when you and James did that, that's one of my ultimate favourite photos.
Oh yeah, it's so nice.
It's just you two, bright blue sky. It's just so calm. The photo, it was brilliant. So on the actual music festival day, we had another food truck in. We had the Wandering Yak, which served the most amazing vegan, vegetarian food. Even the meat eaters were going back twice, and
that was a triumph.
Third time, they were just they couldn't get enough of it. And we had, what did we have, 3 bands?
We had 3 bands, DJs? 3 bands, I think, 4 or 5 DJs of friends.
What we did for everybody was, when they got to the church, actually on a Friday, they were given a lanyard, which had the order of the day for the wedding, and then on the reverse it had the order of the day for the music festival. And on the Saturday for the music festival, because we thought we might have been a little bit noisy on the actual Friday, we invited pretty much most of the village.
Yes.
So we had a lot of people.
The village, so we gave them a party. But I think another thing to say about you, actually, which I don't know how frequent this is in wedding planners, is that you have before you're a wedding planner, you had a lot of experience in the printing. Industry.
Yes.
So
I had a corporate career in the design and graphic,
very important,
and print
actually.
industry.
So show the invitation, which is what
we had bespoke invitations designed, which were done by a company called Yowley, and they created a little, I don't know if you can see it, but we had a little DD logo made up. And
But
that
I
went
think
through
just
the
your
weddings.
experience of knowing what's going to work, what's not, you know,
Yeah.
how to do things, who to use. I think, you know, we'd send you a kind of mock-up of something and you'd immediately say that's not going to work. And I think if you hadn't had that experience, there's another string to your bow, we would have been messing around, toing and froing and getting much more stressed. So I think you're a wedding planner first and foremost, but you've got much more strings to your bow than just that. And I think that was invaluable for us, actually.
Oh, and do you know what I love?
I
I love working with colour and print. It's great. So, how do you think your wedding would have gone if you hadn't had a planner?
Not sure we'd have got there.
Do you think there would have been a wedding? Do you think it would have been?
it would have been. I think I'm a real perfectionist. I think it would have been a real horrible journey to get there. I know people do. You know, it is very stressful planning a wedding. But I think with there were so many. There was 26 suppliers we ended up with, or something monstrous.
Yeah. So to give you an idea, the average wedding has somewhere between like 5 and 10 suppliers, and Alex and James had 26 suppliers. So that's a lot of suppliers to manage, and we do a detailed, almost minute by minute itinerary for the wedding and for the setup and the breakdown. It was pages long.
Yeah.
It was
and I
massive.
think even if it hadn't been anywhere near as complicated and they hadn't had anywhere near as many suppliers, it would have been really, really difficult. And I think I think personally for me is I don't want to get to the wedding, you know, a bit like when you're doing a dinner party and you spent all day cooking. By the time the meal's served, you just
not
cannot,
interested in
you don't
it.
want to see it. And that would have been such a shame. And I think that's why we feel so blessed, because we both had the time of our lives at the wedding. You know, there was not even a kind of, we just didn't think
have to think about anything.
No, we were just there. And I think that was what was so key. So even if it had been half as complicated, I still think it would have been stressful. And you don't want to not have your own wedding because it's just so much. It's all about the guests and not about you. Whereas we were kind of selfishly thinking, well, it's kind of about us and the guests. So we had a very good time.
Would you do it again?
Oh yeah. Saying that, I did wake up this year on New Year's Day and think, oh, this year I've not got to plan a wedding, and felt great relief. But actually, I would do it all again. And I don't know what James would say, but I don't think I would change anything. Actually, it was just incredible. And I think we both feel just so glad to have you in our lives, actually.
Aww.
Because you've become a great friend, and we socialise a lot now, and I think that's testament to you really getting under the skin of the people whose weddings you're going to be planning, rather than just doing a sort of checklist tick box, asking the right questions and off you go. I really felt that you understood James and I and understood our relationship, and that then showed in our relationship and our trust, and then what you produced, which was epic.
If Carlsberg do weddings.
Exactly.
So I'm kind of getting the drift from you that you think it is pretty important
I
to
think
have a planner for an outdoor wedding.
I think it's key. I think for me, I think it's non-negotiable, and I think it would, but it's got to be the right one. I think you don't want to. I think you don't want to find someone, like you said, who starts to pigeonhole into the people that they know and not listening to your needs and the vision that you have. So I think a planner is key. I think it's key for ensuring that it goes well. It's key for you and your husband or wife staying together, for everyone having a good time. And I think just taking something which comes from here and maybe on paper to something 3D and wonderful, I think it requires someone with experience who can actually stand back, because I think sometimes when you're wedding planning as a couple, you get too involved and you can't see the bigger picture. And what I liked when I first met you was, apart from Face of the Flamingos, but you suggest that because you'd already seen the bigger picture before I think we'd even seen it, and that again is where I think the magic happens. So I think for me, a planner is absolutely key.
Any last words of advice to future couples?
Use rocks and frocks.
I honestly swear to God, we have not paid her to say that. We didn't rehearse that. We haven't.
No, you didn't.
In fact, we didn't rehearse any of this.
No, we didn't.
We've just done this off the cuff tonight. So
I think I would say that if you're hesitating about having a wedding planner, I would meet Vanessa, or do your research, but I would meet the person that you're thinking about and really see whether they understand what you want and how you get on with them. But I would say if you're sort of on the fence, I would definitely go with yes. And I just think it's worth cutting things elsewhere to release budget for a wedding planner, because it's just it made our wedding unbelievable.
Yay.
Having you on board.
That's what we want to say. and to be quite frank as well, we had the best day.
Yeah.
Because your guests were so involved.
I'm so pleased.
They involved us in everything, and I think they could see how hard we were working. We were beavering away in the background, and we just didn't stop. And we didn't stop, I think, till about 3 a.m. And in fact, I even drove. I think it was like
You drove James. Did you drive James's gran?
I drove James's granny home
Choice.
because they were going to, bless her, they were going to push her in a wheelchair up the field and to the house, and I was like, no, I can't have that.
I know.
Can't do that.
I think that's another key thing about you is I can't speak for all wedding plans. I've only used you, but one thing about Vanessa was that she went above and beyond on everything, and some stuff we knew about, a lot of stuff we don't, and we still don't. But knowing the stuff that I do, I think it really is times 10 to the power of 6. And anything you do, you work so hard, tirelessly, no sleep, and yet it was so polished and so perfect. And I think that again is what is so great about having a planner, because you yourself cannot do that if it's your wedding. You just can't.
No, you
or you're
can't.
going to ruin your day.
Yeah.
So I think you just went the extra mile and everything. We're so grateful for that.
Oh, well, we're just so delighted that you've chosen. I mean, the hot tub bus, flamingos, neon. It's just like, that's our dream. So we specialise in outdoor weddings, and we just loved every minute of your wedding, and we're just honoured that you and James picked us, and to have you as friends
Likewise.
now is just perfect. Oh. So we've got some questions that have come in during our little chat. Where is Alex's jumper from?
Oh yes, this is Ted Baker.
Good old Ted.
Yeah, good old Ted Baker. My favourite colour, which I now know, thanks to Vanessa's Pantone 812U. For anyone who wants the technical details, I'm now totally obsessed with 812U.
And can I just say, it's not a bad match. It's a pretty good match. What aspect of your job gives you the most satisfaction? For me, that is the moment all the guests arrived. So it was pretty much when they walked into that field, they had no idea what to expect. So we told them all to bring swimwear. Yeah. They'd done their research, they'd found out where the wedding reception was, and there's a swimming pool on site. They all thought they were coming to a swimming pool. And some of them did the whole, I am not going swimming on a wedding. Those were the people we were directing to the local Tesco's 7 miles down the road to buy swimwear, emergency swimwear, because there was no way they were ever going to miss out on that hot tub bus. So for us, it's when the guests and the bride and groom, when they enter that reception, and you just see them without a care in the world, happiest day of their lives, everybody's having so much fun. That for me is what it's all about. It's I'm passionate about weddings, and everybody just having the day they've always dreamt of having, because we all do it. We all from day one go, oh, I want this wedding, and it changes over the years, but ultimately to give you that epic dream of a wedding day is what gives me my satisfaction. As another question, what part is the most stressful? So this might be a bit controversial, but actually the most stressful part of a wedding are the guests. So for us, or for me, planning a wedding, love it, thrive on it. The actual wedding day, that's when I'm in my element. It's the guests. Guests always, even when you're in a field, they always seem to think that they are in some 5-star luxury accommodation and you can magic anything. Now, we're pretty good.
You are.
We can pretty much do the impossible, but miracles, even we can't do that. And just some of the things they ask and some of the requests that you get, and it's just it never ceases to amaze me. But we always have a smile, and we're always there, and we'll do our absolute utmost to help them.
If in doubt, give them a wham bar from the emergency box.
Yes, wham bars. We did have some wham bars. Anybody's old enough to remember wham bars. So another question, I think this is from Yana. Top 3 items in your planner bag. So this will be. So we always have an emergency planning kit with us. We also have a qualified first aider on every wedding. I'm one of them. We didn't really need it for this wedding because Alex is a GP.
A lot of medics in the field.
And there were a lot of medics at this wedding, so I could step down from the old first aid duties on that one. And we're first aid trained because fields, stilettos, alcohol, sometimes it's not the best of mix. We've seen lots of broken wrists and ankles over the years. Top 3 items in our planning bag: plasters.
Yeah.
Always, every wedding get asked for plasters, be that they've cut themselves, the stilettos are killing them, it's always plasters. Always get asked for headache tablets, which is ironic because, normally they've well, normally it's afterwards when they've had a bit too much drink the following morning, but we always get asked for headache tablets, we always get asked for plasters, and I think the other thing is scissors. You would never believe how much I use scissors. And in fact, I actually have a Leatherman, which is a handy tool, which has bottle openers, pen knives, scissors. I carry that with me all the time, because you'll never believe, I've been at the church door before. Now, it wasn't your wedding, it was Fiona and Steve's. Hi Fiona and Steve, if you're out there. And nobody had taken the great big brown cardboard tags off the back of the bridesmaid's dress, and so we were standing at the back of or at the church waiting for them to go in. I suddenly had to leap into action and start literally gnawing away and cutting to take these tags off. So plasters, headache tablets and scissors. I think this is Molly. What is the most common mistake couples make planning a wedding? Interesting. Good question, Molly. I think one of the biggest mistakes they make is it's an underestimation of their time. How long the actual planning itself takes up of their time. Quite a lot of our couples that book us, like Alex, they're professional couples. They may work in London and they're getting married in the family home, so they're not actually close by, or quite a few of our couples are overseas, and so they're obviously not down on the ground. But they don't allow them, they underestimate how planning a wedding impacts on their day-to-day life. How much time it takes, and also the biggest underestimation is when you're holding a wedding such as an outdoor wedding, teepees, marquees, sperries, it's how long it takes to decorate and to fill that marquee, tent, whatever structure you've got. It's an underestimation of how long that actually takes, because normally there's rehearsal dinners or there's family dinners booked, and before you know it, it's Friday night, it's 7 o'clock, and she's laughing because she was the same, and they've disappeared, and there's still all these boxes on the floor, which we're there going, well, let's see what's in this one, and let's see where we're going to put this, and so we're left to kind of do it, which is fine, it's cool, but yeah, it's an underestimation of time, I think. And I think that's all the questions we have. So on that note, I think we've probably chatted for long enough. So a huge thanks to Alex for joining us tonight. She's
honored to be here.
Actually been poorly this week. So huge thanks for dragging yourself out. Yeah,
Thanks very much.
Yeah, to be fair, she kind of only came out for the old LP. Cheap date. That's not actually true. She's done brilliantly tonight. So thanks ever so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Thanks to everybody online who's been watching us live, and anybody that's watching this on playback. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all soon. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.